Oscar Isaac has truly made a name for himself in Hollywood. Over the past few years, he has become an absolute Hollywood darling. He commands the screen whenever he appears, whether it's with powerful, bold performances or quiet, reserved roles. He is an actor who automatically elevates whatever movie he's a part of. He is an incredibly talented actor and musician who has even been featured on his own film soundtracks a couple of times over the years. Here are 10 things you probably didn't know about Oscar Isaac. Isaac is his middle name. Oscar Isaac Hernandez Estrada was born on March 9, 1979, in Guatemala City, Guatemala. His decision to drop his last name Hernandez and go with Oscar Isaac as his professional name was made after becoming an American citizen. He said, "I got stopped more at airports and taken to the back because of all the Oscar Hernandezes who are on the list. Also, starting out as an actor, you immediately worry about being pigeonholed or typecast. I don't want to just go up for the dead body, the gangster, the bandolero, whatever. I don't want to be defined by someone else's idea of what an Oscar Hernandez should be playing. So I used my middle name, Isaac, as my last name." He was expelled from school in 7th grade. Isaac was a bit of a rebel growing up and admitted that he was expelled from a private school in 7th grade for repeated bad behavior, including spraying a fire extinguisher in the gym, defacing a mural, writing curse words on stairs leading to the library, and breaking into the ranch next door. He told details, "The school was built around this guy's ranch, and there was a big wall, and we never knew what was on the other side. Me and my friend jumped over and found all these exotic animals, guard emus and the craziest tiny little beavers. We just started petting them all. Why wouldn't you?" But the guy complained. He added that his acts of vandalism were just stupid. He used to transport dead bodies. Before acting, Isaac had a lot of part-time jobs. He bagged groceries at Publix, worked as a waiter at a golf club, manned the concession stand at a movie theater, and served as a transporter at a medical center. The actor explained to Vice in early 2018, "The longest job I held was as a transporter at the hospital where my dad worked, taking people to do x-rays, bringing the deceased down to the morgue." He almost joined the military. Isaac starred in Triple Frontier with Ben Affleck as a former U.S. Army Delta Force operator, but he almost joined the Marines and the reserves in real life. He told Esquire in 2017 that he was inspired to enlist by a friend who grew up in a military family. "We were like, hey, let's work out and get all ripped and be badass. I was like, yeah, I'll do combat photography. My dad was really against it. He said, Clinton's just going to make up a war for you guys to go to, so I had to have the recruiters come all the way down to Miami, where my dad was living, and they convinced him to let me join. I did the exam, I took the oath, but then, I decided I'd join the reserves instead. I said I wanted to do combat photography. They said, we don't do that in the reserves, but we can give you anti-tank? Ha, I was like, it's a little different to what I was thinking." He attended Juilliard. While visiting New York, Isaac passed by Juilliard and decided to apply on a whim. His audition was a day late, but they let him in anyway. He barely made it off probation for the second year, but managed to graduate. He told Esquire, in the second year they would do cuts. "If you don't do better they kick you out. All the acting teachers wanted me on probation because they didn't think I was trying hard enough." Among his fellow students was Jessica Chastain, with whom he starred in the 2014's A Most Violent Year. His breakout role was Star Wars. Although Oscar Isaac slayed his role as Blue Jones and definitely had multiple incredible films afterward, no one really saw this man's name in lights until he was cast in the new Star Wars trilogy. With a starring role as the pilot Poe Dameron, Isaac has definitely proved himself worthy of the spotlight and has appeared in many popular blockbuster flicks since then. He landed in 3 separate Marvel Cinematic Universes. Isaac has quite the MCU resume. People might not immediately recognize him as a superhero or supervillain, but he plays both types of roles. He was Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse and wore a ton of prosthetics and plastic. He was almost unrecognizable. He was the voice of Spider-Man 2099 in a segment of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He is also slated to star in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film for superhero Moon Knight. He passed on playing Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. He passed on the opportunity to star as Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, a role ultimately claimed by Rami Malek. In an interview with ABC Audio, Isaac confessed that he didn't believe audiences would be interested in seeing a biopic for Mercury. He was quickly proven wrong, however, as the film went on to gross over $900 million at the box office. Despite its obvious success, Isaac says that he doesn't really regret his decision. "I think I could never have done what Rami Malek did." He played in various punk bands. Isaac's parents were evangelical Christians, and back in the late 90s and early 2000s, Isaac was the lead singer and guitarist for a Christian ska band called the Blinking Underdogs. The band opened for bands like Green Day and played at festivals like Warped Tour. He told Jimmy Kimmel he was actually in several bands with just as interesting names like Petrified Frogs, Closeted Heterosexuals, and The Worms, but the Blinking Underdogs was the most successful in his last. He didn't start drinking alcohol until he was in his mid-20s. Even though he played music in his teen years and spent his 20s in the New York City theater scene, Oscar Isaac didn't start drinking alcohol until much later in life. He told Esquire, "I didn't drink till I was, 24. Even though I stopped being religious, I liked the individuality of being the guy who didn't do that stuff. Maybe it was the observer part of me, I liked being a little bit detached, and I wasn't interested in doing something that was going to make me lose control."